This is not it. This is absolutely not it. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Edln, not your role model, just inspiration. And today I am going to tell y'all about the time my dad caught me in a lie. And like, I don't know, it might have been normal for most kids to get caught in lies and whatnot, but like, I was a really good kid. I was a kid that like didn't give my parents headache, got good grades, literally had the same friend group. So like, they always knew who I was with. I was with the same people all the time, literally. Yeah, I was just a good kid. I listened to them. I followed the rules. I got good grades. You know, the most I probably did was break curfew, but every time I was breaking curfew, it was with the same people that they know well, the same parents they know from our church, because I went to church with all my friends in the youth group, very active, going on trips, spending my weekends literally at church. So I was just a really good kid, and there was no reason really to worry about me, and there was no reason for me to lie. That was the thing. Like, I never had a reason really to lie. But in this case, y'all will hear it. So let's just get into the story. I just want to let you know that, like, that little backstory. So now I actually have to tell another little backstory. So basically in high school, I think it was my junior year or senior, it had to be junior or sophomore, whatever. The kitchen in my house flooded. It didn't flood for real. It's not like my house flooded, but I used to say my house is flooded because it was just easier, and it was funny, but it's not really funny. I'm not saying it's funny to have your house flooded. Basically, our kitchen had some water problem, and like the water was leaking into the kitchen, coming from somewhere, I don't know, but the source was the kitchen. So the kitchen cabinets were getting damaged, the floor was getting damaged when the water was on. It was when the water was on and people were using it and it's running and whatever. So, but eventually we found out it's not just like, oh, you just have to keep the water use to a minimal. It's like we have to turn the whole water off for the house for long periods of time to avoid the water to start leaking again. So that was like the answer to it all. So basically it was just inconvenient because every time you had to use the water, you would have to go outside and turn it on. It was like literally a lever, and once you were done using the water, turn it off. So I was the only one going to high school in my house at the time. So I went to school at like 6. I had to wake up at like 6 a.m., whatever, right? So I'm the only one in the house that needs the water. So I get up, I go downstairs, I turn on the water, I brush my teeth, I take a quick shower. But immediately after I take the shower, I have to go downstairs and turn the water off. Like literally in my towel, go outside, go around the rocks and trees and all this nonsense that's in my front yard to the side of the house and turn the lever in the dark. It's pitch black in the morning. So I'm doing that. So I'm doing this for a month at least, maybe 2 months. We're constantly, because they're trying to figure out, you know, insurance needs to help, whatever, to chip in to fix the problem. It's so tiring. It's so annoying. It's like, ugh. So that's just to give you guys some idea of what was going on. So now let's get into the story. So it was a regular high school day. I had practice. I'm pretty sure it was like track practice or something. It was a practice where when I was done, I'm pretty sure I was by myself. Like there was no friends around. Like it was just time for me to take myself home. And at this time, I used my mom's old van as a car. I had 3 different cars in high school. Anyways, maybe we should, is that another story time? Do you want to know why I had 3 different cars in high school? Let me know if that's something y'all would want to know, but anyways, so I had my mom's old van, and I would drive myself to school. So after practice, I could just drive myself home. Nobody has to come pick me up. So I'm coming out of practice. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, I think I didn't really want to go home. I just didn't feel like being home. But I especially didn't feel like dealing with going, like, I'm coming from practice, so I have to shower when I get home. So I would have to go turn the water on, quickly go take a shower, go downstairs, turn it off, and whatever. But I just wanted to take a shower and lay down. I just wanted to take a shower and relax. So, like, it wasn't really that serious. I could have just went home. But anyways, so that's how I'm feeling. Then my friend, he comes out of his practice. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just go to his house and I'll shower there, and, you know, maybe I'll hang out, maybe I'll go home, or maybe I'll just whatever. So At this time, I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna go. And for me, I'm usually a person like I text my parents like when I get there. So like I'll do whatever I was gonna do, and then I'll text my parents like, oh, by the way, I'm at this person's house and I'll be home later. Mind you, it was a school night, so I had no intentions of staying out very late at all. I just didn't feel like going home at that time. Who even knows? Maybe there was some other stuff going on and I just like, I suppressed it, you know, trauma. I'm kidding, no, I don't remember why, but you know, sometimes you just don't want to be home. So yeah, so I go to my friend's house and I get there, whatever. So to give you a little bit of extra backstory, in high school, yes, yeah. It wasn't senior year, or at least it wasn't the point of senior year where I got an iPhone, because every grade below that, I didn't have a smartphone. I never had a smartphone. So at this point, I specifically remember I didn't have a smartphone yet. I had a little slide phone, whatever, Samsung phone. But I had an iPod. So I've had an iPod, like, since iPod Nano, I've had iPods. And when they came out with touch, I was so lit, because the iPod Touch was literally the iPhone without service. So I was like, I could still be in the gang, you know, I still vibe. So I used my iPod Touch basically as my phone. And during this time is when school started incorporating BYOD. Look at me, my alcoholic. BYOD, bring your own device. So like they encourage students to bring their phones and their laptops, whatever, iPods to use for research, whatever, you know, in school. So I had Wi-Fi at school, and I'm at school basically all the time, or I'm at home or at a friend's house where there's Wi-Fi, or I'm at church where there's Wi-Fi. So I could always use my iPod basically as a phone. So my iPod email, my Apple ID was in the group chats with all my friends, because they all had iPhones. So that's where I communicated with my friends. But I had my regular phone. Like, I literally never even pulled out my regular phone. Like, I was embarrassed. That's embarrassing. You still have a slide phone while everybody's on their touch. Like, that's so embarrassing. So I would keep my phone under wraps. Literally everyone around me had an iPhone. Like, and if you didn't have an iPhone, you had a smartphone, that was a Samsung. Whatever. At least you still had a smartphone. Like, so I would use my phone really just to text my parents, and like if I really didn't have Wi-Fi for some reason, I wasn't around any of my friends, to text like a friend. Like, I still have my friends' numbers on my phone. It's just I never needed to text or call them from that. So I would often let my real phone die and it would just be dead and just be there, because like, who cares? I don't need it throughout the day unless I literally need to talk to my parents. Like, and there was no reason for me to talk to my parents throughout the day. I'm at school. So I remember getting to his house, and I remember that my real phone was dead. Okay. So my real phone was dead. So I put it on the charger, because I was like, I know I need to text my dad that I'm like away, whatever. So I remember putting it on the charger, but I remember wasting a lot of time. So like once I got there, once I put it on the charger, I just took my shower and then like just started chilling, hanging out, vibing, whatever. And I remember at one point I remembered to myself, I was like, oh crap, I didn't text my dad where I was. But I was like, it's whatever. Usually he's not really pressed about it. Like, it's just like, it's usually like I come home when I come home. So even if I had ended at practice at like 6 or 7, and I come home at like 8, 9, maybe 10 or something, and I didn't say anything, you know, for the most part, it's like, oh yeah, I was just like, I was hanging out, or we went to go grab food after, or like whatever it is. Like, I would usually, if I did forget to text like one of my parents. So anyways, I'm like, oh crap, I didn't text my dad. So I'm like, let me go ahead and text him. But as I'm texting him, I'm like, I really don't feel like telling him that I'm at so-and-so's house, because I just feel like it's easier to say I'm at a guy's house when I'm with my other girlfriends. Like, I'll be like, oh, I'm with all these girls and we're all at this guy's house this friend's guy's house. We're all at this friend's house. I can't speak English. We're all at this guy's house, but it's like, you know, I'm not alone. So my parents can't assume I'm trying to be a little fast girl, because when I tell you I was a good kid, I was a good kid. So I'm like, ugh, I don't feel like telling him the truth. So I'm just like, or I don't feel like saying this name. And also I feel like when my parents hear a certain name of a certain person's house, like a lot in a row, they get more annoyed. So I like to switch it up, you know, this person's house, this person's house, that person's house. Like, I don't want to say this person's house, but it used to be like that. And me and my friends really used to be at this person's house all the time. So it was just, I was alone. It was a school night. It was nighttime. Like, all the factors didn't look great. So I'm like, let me just say I'm at one of my girlfriend's house, because what are they? He's going to check? No. How would you know? How would you know? They're going to know. So I'm just like, okay, so I'm just going to say this person's house and whatever. And I'm like, I told him, I still kept the truth. I was like, I came to so-and-so's house to take a shower because I just didn't feel like, you know the situation at home with the shower. So I came here to take a shower. And then I think I said something like studying, whatever, but whatever. I don't think we studied. I think we were just hanging out, but like, whatever. So eventually then I leave his house. It's like probably like 10:30, 11. I wouldn't on school nights, unless there was like a specific reason, I usually wasn't getting home past like 11. That's like the latest. Unless I was like at a game or working a game or had a game or whatever it was, there wasn't a reason I was home past 12. So I got home around like 11, I think maybe like 10. It was definitely not that late, you know? So I get home, I'm pulling in, and I'm just like, I'm hoping that like everyone is like, the house is asleep. Usually when I get home, usually around that time, the house is usually asleep. So people are in their respective places. It's bedtime. The lights, if not all, most of the lights are off in the house. I usually come into a dark house. You know, I have to at least turn on one light, whatever. Go upstairs, you know, mind my business. So when I get home, I I park, open the garage, go into the garage, and I see the light, like, because when you open the garage door, then you go into the laundry room, then you could see, that's the house. There's a second door, so then you'll see light. So I'm like, ugh, the light's on, like my dad's probably up, like, ugh. And I just didn't feel like it. Like, I just want to go to I don't want to talk to nobody. I'm like hanging the keys on the hook, I'm opening the door, and he's like standing there. And I'm like, oh, hey, hi. But like, he's like looking at me like crazy. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then he's like, where were you? And I'm like, at so-and-so's house. I lied again. I said the girl's house. And he's like, no, where were you? Because, plot twist, he goes on to tell me that he basically contacted all my friends, like all my immediate girlfriends and their parents. Like, not my actual girlfriends, the parents, because why would he have their numbers? But he had their parents' numbers. So he reached out to them asking like, oh, have you seen edln? I'm like, when he's telling me this, I'm sick. I was so sick. I was shocked, stunned. He's like, yeah, and they didn't know where you were. Nobody knew where you were. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But I will tell you, a part of me was kind of prepared for it, because I think I remember getting a text from one of my girlfriends, and I want to believe it was before I got home. Yes, I believe that was the case. I have terrible memory, guys, but I'm going to still tell these stories like I know it 100%. Anyways, I remember getting a text, and she was like something about like, where are you, or something like that. And it was kind of random, so I already felt weird about it, because like there was no reason for her to ask where I am usually on a school night, because I'm probably home, you know, like I'm usually home on school nights. Sometimes I'd be at other people's house, but for the most part on a school night I was home. And so I already thought that was weird, but I just didn't like look into it really. I was just like, I will message her back whenever, like, it's not that deep. Or I might have answered and she didn't reply, regardless. So I already felt a little bit weird. So he's in my face right now. He's telling me he talked to these people and they didn't know. So then I come out and say, I was like, oh yeah, well, I was at so-and-so's house. But I just didn't want to tell you because I thought you would get mad at me for driving to his house when I didn't have that much gas in the car. And he would give me, I mean, I'm in high school. I didn't have a job. Yeah, I didn't have a job at this point. And so he would give me money for the gas in the car, obviously lunch money, that kind of stuff. You're my parents. Yeah, provide. So he would give me gas money. And I think I remember asking for gas money, like whatever, a day before or something like that. But I don't think I had the chance to actually get it from him. So I was like, yeah, I knew you would get mad if you found out that I was driving like kind of a little bit further away when there wasn't really much gas in the car. So I just said that, whatever. That was my excuse. But he was livid. He was so mad. It was so dramatic. It was that whole situation was dramaed out. I'm pretty sure this is when, they took the, like, not they, my dad was like, okay, well, I'm taking the car from you. He took the car from me, and I had to start, he started taking me to school in the morning. I was sick. I was like, are you serious? Like, I know I lied, but I'm a good kid. It's not that deep. Like, just relax. It won't happen again. And I did all this just to avoid being annoyed by my parents or my dad hearing the same person's name again. Like, oh, you're always there. Like, my parents were always like, you're always there. You're always there. You're never home. You're never home. That was like everything I heard in high school. I was never home. I didn't want to be home for real. And I wanted to be around my friends, and my friends had cooler places to hang out. So I did all that. I lost the car, and it really was for no reason. I could have just said where I was. If anything, I should have just lied of who's with me, so that my dad wouldn't think like, oh, like, you know, she's being fast, she's being a hoe, she's doing this, that, and the third. He would just assume, you know, that we decided to go hang out and whatever. Like, I should have lied. I should have said that the girls were with me instead of saying like I'm somewhere else. But either way, it wouldn't have been that great because, like I said, I was concerned that he was going to be annoyed about the fact that I was driving further away from my house with a little bit of gas and, you know, driving all the way back home as well. So yeah, that was a crazy time, guys. I'm thinking about it. I'm just like, I'm sick. Like, I literally was so livid that he took the car from me. Like, now you have to drop me off at, you're making it worse for yourself. Just give me the car back. It didn't last long. I think it lasted like a week, maybe 2 weeks. Not even 2 weeks sounds like a long time. Maybe 2 weeks though. It didn't last that long. It was back to normal pretty quickly. But for the time being, it was just like, this is not it. This is absolutely not it. But that's the end of the story, guys. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Go ahead and like, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.